All right, we're going to start a 3-part series talking about live streaming. And just a quick little caveat, this could be 3-hour-long episodes. There's so much information to cover when it comes to live streaming, but what we wanted to give you is just a couple snippets that maybe point you in the right direction. So the first topic is actually capturing the event video. And so the big topic right now is, should we be using PTZ cameras versus a manned camera? Manned camera means a person is operating it, or a person had to set it all up physically. Like right now we're using some Blackmagic 6Ks. Those, we can't do any adjusting to them while we're sitting here.
Yeah, and we don't have any camera people
nobody's
operating
running
them.
Which that works in churches too. You can we call it locking off the shop.
Yeah.
But.
So I think the first thing that you have to tell yourself or ask yourself is, do I have the manpower to do whatever I'm wanting to do?
Do I have 3 camera operators?
And consistent people. If the answer is no, then you probably want to go either the route of putting them on tripods like we have, and they're just locked off, or PTZ. PTZ stands for pan, tilt, zoom. That's pretty self-explanatory. And
what it means is the camera can pan, tilt, zoom on its own. It's got motors built in.
Little like a joystick or buttons for presets.
Yeah. So like one brand that we're pretty fond of is PTZ Optics, but I mean, go do the research. There's
a lot of different
everybody has jumped on the PTZ camera. And to be clear, this is not a new technology. It's been around for a long time. So if you look at a more established brand like Panasonic, Panasonic PTZ cameras are some of the best in the industry. They're also $12,000.
So one thing to note about this topic is, like for example, these Blackmagic 6Ks, they're couple thousand for the body, but you get a fantastic sensor, like a nice big fantastic sensor. With a PTZ camera around that $2,000 mark, you're getting a little tiny sensor. So the image quality isn't going to be quite as good.
And your lighting plays a lot more into that.
Yeah. Your image quality isn't as good as, say, these Blackmagics. However, you have the ability to pan, tilt, zoom. Now, where things may or may not matter is, let's say your church doesn't look like a black box. Let's say it's got lots of stained glass, and you've got lots of light and all that stuff.
PTZs are going to look great.
Yeah, they're going to look fine. It's kind of like your phone. So if you're in a dark place, your phone's going to be grainy. If you go outside on a cloudy day where things are real lit very well, because you don't have harsh lights and stuff, and you take a video, it looks great. What has changed? It hasn't been the camera. The camera has not changed. It's your environment. So, yes, that could be a whole other rabbit trail. So you kind of have to assess the situation. Are you wanting to push buttons, or do you have a crew to be able to man stuff? Is where I would start. And on your manned camera side, there are options. There's the traditional handy cam where everything's in one, but it is a bigger sensor, and you could still buy professional level camcorders is what they're called, ironically, where the lens is built into the camera body. And those typically have a little more like automated settings. You don't need to know quite as much about setting it up. Whereas like a Blackmagic 6K, it follows the DSLR rabbit trail, and you have to buy an external lens, which is a cost. You don't have to spend a ton of money on a great lens. We talk about budget lenses all the time. But you need to know a little more about how the lens interacts with the camera body and how to set it up. Now, the cool thing is, in either case, PTZ or manned cameras, a company like ours, we do this all the time. We can come in, sell you all the equipment, set it all up correctly, commission it so it looks great, and then your manned operator only needs to know how to move it and pull focus. They don't need a degree in exposure. We can teach them about the things they do need to know. And then don't worry them about the things they don't need to know. Exactly. And PTZ cameras are the same way. Out of the box, a PTZ camera might not look great. It may need some commissioning, some tuning. And of course, we talk about how like light and all kinds of other things play into that too. Like if your stage is not well lit, why are you even bothering to video record it? That's a different topic, but yes. But as far as which camera, there's great options in both. And you want to be thinking about other features. We talked in another podcast about SDI. If that's important to you to be able to bring your cameras to your switcher with SDI, then you want to buy a camera body that has an SDI output. But if you want to save some money, you can buy a camera like the Blackmagic 6K has an HDMI output. You can just use a little converter to convert it to SDI. So it's kind of about how many cables and converters you want to have. And even if you have an older camera that maybe doesn't even have an HDMI output, it has an older RGB output,
Blackmagic makes converters for those too. So
Yeah.
you can still utilize SDI wiring even in those setups.